February 17, 2019, slammed Rockland, Maine, with a nor'easter's icy wrath, 42-mile-per-hour winds howling off Penobscot Bay, snow burying the docks, and the mercury crashing to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. On Pine Street, a chained dog named Storm, 60 pounds of grit and gray fur, shivered against a splintered oak, his amber eyes cutting through the blizzard's roar. 2 blocks away, 9-year-old Ethan Parker slipped into the storm, chasing a lost Red Sox cap toward Pine Cove Pond's cracked ice. At 5:50 p.m., it shattered, Ethan's scream swallowed by the wind as black water yanked him under. Storm lunged, blood streaking his neck, his rusted chain screaming against the freeze. One boy sinking, one dog fighting, a Maine night ready to claim them both. Please hit subscribe. Turn on notifications, and let's dive into the story together. February 17, 2019, descended on Rockland, Maine, with the ferocity of a nor'easter born from the Gulf of Maine's icy depths. Winds gusted at 42 miles per hour, according to the National Weather Service's Gray Office, driving snow into blinding sheets that buried the town's salt-worn docks and clabbered homes along Penobscot Bay. By 5:30 p.m., the mercury had cratered to 8 degrees Fahrenheit, a bone-chilling drop that turned breath to frost and coated Pine Street in a slick sheen of ice. At the edge of a foreclosed lot, a sagging, gray-shingled house once listed for $132,000 on Zillow, a heavy chain clinked rhythmically against frozen ground, its links rusted and crusted with 7 winters' worth of ice. Tethered to a splintered oak, Storm, a gray mixed-breed dog with the broad shoulders of a German shepherd and the wiry resilience of a stray, curled tight into himself. His coat, once a shimmering silver, hung in filthy clumps, matted with dirt and burrs, offering scant protection against the storm's relentless bite. At 60 pounds, down from a healthy 75, his ribs pressed sharp against his sides. His amber eyes glinting through the swirling flakes, sharp with a wariness forged by years of human hands that struck instead of soothed. 2 blocks east, 9-year-old Ethan Parker slipped out the back door of his family's yellow bungalow on Birch Street. A mag-light flashlight clutched in his mittened hand, its beam cutting through the blizzard's murk. His mom, Jen Parker, a 34-year-old RN at Penn Bay Medical Center, was midway through a double shift in the ER, triaging flu cases and frostbite victims from the storm. His dad, Tim Parker, a 38-year-old lobsterman with forearms thick from hauling traps on the F/VC Witch, had collapsed on the couch after a 14-hour run, boots still caked with bait slime. Ethan had lost his prized possession that morning, a faded Red Sox cap, a 2013 hand-me-down from Tim, snatched by a gust while he shoveled the driveway. Determined to reclaim it, he'd snuck out, tracing its path toward Pine Cove Pond, a quarter-mile oval of frozen water tucked behind Pine Street. The ice gleamed under a thin snow dusting. Its surface cracked from weeks of thaw and refreeze, tempting Ethan's 70-pound frame as he shuffled onto it, flashlight bobbing. Storm watched from his chained prison, ears twitching as Ethan's boots crunched closer, his small figure a blur against the whiteout. The boy's cap lay snagged on a branch 20 feet out, a red speck against the gray ice. Then came the crack, a sharp, brittle snap. Barely audible over the wind's howl, but Storm's head jerked up, a low growl swallowed by instinct as the ice shattered beneath Ethan's feet. His scream pierced the night, "Help!" His arms thrashing as the black, 34 degrees Fahrenheit water of Pine Cove yanked him under, the flashlight spiraling into the depths, its beam winking out. Storm lunged without pause, his chain gouging into the scarred flesh of his neck. Blood seeping dark against his gray fur as he barked, a deep, frantic roar that echoed unanswered through the storm-lashed streets of Rockland. Ethan's mittens clawed at the jagged edge, his head dipping below the surface, his kicks growing feeble as hypothermia sank its claws in. Storm's world narrowed to a single, desperate purpose. He threw his full weight against the chain, once, twice, 3 times, the rusted anchor, a 10-pound steel spike driven into the earth in 2012, creaking as the frozen soil gave way under years of Maine's brutal freeze-thaw cycles. Blood streaked his neck, matting his fur, but he didn't stop, his growls turning to pained whimpers as he yanked again. On the fifth heave, the anchor shifted, an inch, then two, enough for Storm to drag its 15 feet of steel through thigh-deep snowdrifts. His paws slipping, his breath puffing in ragged clouds. He plunged into the pond's icy grip, the chain trailing like a cursed lifeline, and locked his jaws onto Ethan's parka hood, teeth sinking through the nylon shell. With a strength born of 7 years surviving hell, he hauled the boy back, inch by agonizing inch, his hind legs scrabbling against the pond's muddy bottom. Collapsing on the bank, Storm dragged Ethan clear, the boy's limp form coughing faintly as water dribbled from his lips. Storm stayed, shivering beside him, until the wind carried the sound of a slamming door. Jen, home early, sprinting through the snow after spotting Ethan's tracks. Jen found him at 7:12 p.m. on their stoop, blue-lipped and unconscious, the Red Sox cap clutched in his fist. His parka soaked through. "Ethan! Oh God," she gasped, dropping her bag, her nurse's instincts kicking in as she checked his pulse, weak, thready, but there. Tim stumbled out. Bleary-eyed, dialing 911 with shaking hands. "He must have crawled back, damn kid," he muttered, wrapping Ethan in a wool blanket as Jen yelled for him to grab the heating pad. Rockland's ambulance screeched up at 7:19, paramedics bundling Ethan to Penn Bay, where he'd spend 48 hours in pediatric ICU, hypothermia, mild frostbite on his fingers, but alive. No one saw the bloody pawprints trailing back to Pine Street, erased by the storm's fresh powder, nor Storm huddled under the oak, his chains snagged tight again on a root, ice crusting his fur as he shivered through the night. Rockland chalked it up to a miracle, Ethan's tale a foggy blur of cold and luck, except for two souls bound by that frozen moment, a dog who'd defied his chains to save a life, and a boy who'd wake from fevered dreams of gray fur pulling him from the dark. Storm's story traced back to April 23, 2012, at the Coastal Humane Society in Brunswick, Maine, 40 miles south of Rockland. Born to a stray German Shepherd mix pulled from a ditch off Route 1, he was one of 7 pups, his silver-gray coat and amber eyes setting him apart from the litter's brown and black tangle. Shelter staff nicknamed him the Comforter. He'd nudge trembling littermates, flop beside them during vet checks, and wag his stubby tail at every volunteer who peeked into the kennel. "That one special," said Amy Brewer, a 25-year-old tech who'd logged his first shots, noting how he'd licked her hand after a needle prick. On June 15, Tom and Karen Murphy rolled up in a 2010 Ford Explorer. A Camden couple in their mid-30s with a polished pitch, a fenced half-acre yard, 2 daughters, Emily, 7, and Grace, 5, and a craving for a family dog. "He's perfect for the girls." Karen beamed, her blonde hair tucked under a Red Sox cap, while Tom, a mechanic with a buzz cut and oil-stained jeans, nodded. The shelter's director, Linda Cole, handed over Storm's leash with a smile. Adoption fee waived after their sob story about a recent miscarriage. For 12 weeks, Storm lived the dream, chasing Emily and Grace through Camden's lilac-lined yard, sleeping on a quilted mat by their bunk beds, learning sit and paw from Tom over beggin strips. Neighbors on Elm Street waved as he trotted beside the girls' bikes, his glossy coat earning sweet pup nods at the post office. Then, on September 8, Rockland Auto laid off half its crew, Tom included, slashing his $18 an hour gig. Beer cans piled in the garage, Bud Light turning to Jim Beam, and his temper flared like a nor'easter. By September 20, Storm, 6 months and sprouting fast, met his first chain, a 10-foot length of galvanized steel Tom looped around the oak. "Too damn big, tearing up the house." He slurred, ignoring Karen's quiet, "He's fine inside, Tom, just needs a walk." Days stretched to weeks, then years, the chain swapped for a 15-foot beast as Storm grew, his world shrinking to a dirt circle. Karen stopped filling his bowl. Once daily kibble turned to whenever Tom remembered, often just stale crusts or nothing. The girls, scolded he'd bite after Tom's rants, peeked from windows but kept away. Water froze in a dented Folgers tin through winters, baked dry in July's 85 degrees Fahrenheit scorchers. Neighbors, old Mrs. Callahan next door, Pete Dunn across the street, grumbled at town meetings. But Tom's bellowed threats, "Mind your damn business." And Karen's teary excuses, "He's just rambunctious," silenced them. Summer's blistered storms pause on sun-baked clay. Winters gnawed his joints as he curled tight against sub-zero gusts, his growls a shield against boots and broomsticks. Yet a flicker held, kids like Pete's grandson tossing bread crusts over the fence when Tom was at the bar. Storm's amber eyes tracing gulls over the bay, dreaming of a life lost or maybe still ahead. Rockland's whispers turned sour, the Murphys, once Little League sponsors, sank into infamy as Tom's benders and Karen's silence painted Storm as the town's chained ghost. Part 2, The Rain and the Reader. 15,000 plus characters. October 13, 2025, broke over Rockland, Maine, with a cold, relentless drizzle off Penobscot Bay, the kind that soaked through jackets and turned Pine Street into a muddy sluice. The Murphy house, evicted October 1 after Tom skipped 6 mortgage payments, stood hollow, its windows boarded with warped plywood, bank-owned sign nailed to the porch by Camden Savings at 9 a.m. on the 2nd. In the backyard, Storm hunched beneath the oak, his chain rattling in the wind, his gray coat sodden and clinging to his 52-pound frame, 8 pounds lighter than when Mrs. Callahan last weighed him in 23 with a smuggled scale. 7 years had etched him raw, ribs stark under patchy fur, neck a calloused ring from endless pulling, amber eyes fierce with a distrust born of every slammed door. Every empty day. Rain streaked his face, pooling in a swampy tin that hadn't been cleaned since Tom's last stumble out back in August. Animal control had circled since the eviction, Officer Dana Reed's Ford F-150 idling beyond the fence. Her logbook thick with failed tries, October 5th, lunged at 10 feet, October 9th, snarled through a tarp wall, October 11th, dodged a catch pole with a snap that grazed a glove. The bank's lawyer, Ed Grayson from Portland, faxed a final notice at 3 p.m. on the 12th, remove hazard by October 15th, 5 p.m., or we authorize lethal action, liability risk unacceptable. 10 miles north. Matt Carver leaned against the counter at Haven Rescue Sanctuary, a 25-acre spread-off Route 1 in Thomaston where Maine's cast-off dogs clawed back from the brink. At 43, his hands bore scars from 2 decades of coaxing trust, nicks from teeth, burns from ropes, his gray eyes steady with a quiet born from his own redemption. In '98, a 16-year-old Matt, fresh off a juvie stint for boosting car stereos in Bangor, had met Buck, a snarling mutt at the SPCA who'd bitten 3 handlers. 6 months of stale sandwiches and whispered Metallica lyrics turned Buck into his shadow, adopted by a welder in Brewer. Now Haven hummed, soft LEDs in kennels, fleece blankets stacked by a wood stove, Chopin drifting from hidden speakers. His team, Dr. Lisa Hayes, 38, vet to the broken with a knack for stitching souls. Sam Riley, 29, behaviorist who read trauma like a book, had rehabbed 350 dogs since '09, dogs kill shelters stamped unadoptable. At 7:32 a.m., Dana's call crackled over his cracked iPhone 8, Matt. It's the Murphy dog, 7 years on that chain, a wreck now. Bank's done waiting. We can't touch him, growls at air. You're our last shot before tomorrow's needle. Matt's coffee went cold. His jaw tight. Hold Grayson off till 5 p.m. tomorrow. I'm there by 8. He pulled up at 8:17, rain drumming his 14 Silverado's roof, Dana's crew, her, Mike Torres, Jen Lasky, huddled by their van. Faces grim. Tried everything, Dana said, flipping her clipboard, rain smearing ink. October 5th, Mike tossed hot dogs, Storm snapped, didn't eat. October 9th, Jen sat 15 feet out with cheese, he stared. Growling 20 minutes straight. October 11th, I looped a pole, he dodged, nearly took my thumb. Photos clipped to the board showed Storm mid-lunge, chain taut, eyes wild, not rage. Matt clocked, but a terror so deep it screamed. He studied him through the drizzle, matted fur dripping, right hind leg favoring, paws splayed from years of strain, the chain snaking into a trench around the oak. Deep as a grave. He's not feral, Matt said, voice low over the rain's patter. He's scared shitless, never had a reason not to be. Look at those eyes, smart, watching every damn move. Dana sighed, rubbing her brow. Grayson's on my ass, called twice today. Bank wants him gone, says he's a lawsuit waiting. Matt grabbed his pack, thermos, a beat-up, to build a fire. No leash. Move the vans to Elm. Less noise, better odds. Matt settled 25 feet out, cross-legged in the mud, rain soaking his Carhartt flannel, the oak's shadow stretching long. No bribes, no rush, just Jack London's words, his voice a steady hum over the storm. Hey, fella, just gonna sit. No trouble, no tricks. Storm growled, hackle spiking, a deep rumble that shook his frame. But Matt read on, calm, deliberate, paragraphs of Yukon frost mirroring Rockland's chill. He shifted slow, telegraphing every move, pouring coffee at 9:15, tearing a blueberry muffin from Hannaford at 10. Crumbs falling free in the mud. Take your time, big guy, he said, sipping, letting the scent drift. Hours bled, 11 a.m., 1 p.m., rain easing to a mist, storm snarls softening to rumbles. His head cocking at Matt's hum of Down by the Riverside, a tune his mom sang over dishes in '89. A gull screeched over the bay at 2:30, and Storm's gaze lifted, soft, unguarded. Tracing its arc, then flicked back, less feral, more questioning. You're tough as nails, Matt said, throat tight, rain masking a tear. 7 years alone's too damn long, oughta be a crime. By 4 p.m., Storm sat, tension seeping out, his amber eyes locked on Matt, wary but steady. Matt inched closer, glacial, 3 inches every 5 minutes, reading London's tale of survival. Voice a lifeline through the gray. Storm's breath hitched, ears twitching, but no growl came. At 4:45, a pickup backfired on Birch, Storm flinched, then, miracle, stepped forward. Nose twitching at Matt's scent, coffee and mud and faint Old Spice. Matt froze, palm up, rain pooling. Your call, buddy. Seconds stretched, 4:47, 4:48, then Storm's nose brushed his fingers. A whisper of trust after 2,555 days of none. He backed off, cautious, tail low but unstiffened, the wall fissuring. Matt wiped his face, rain, tears, relief, heart hammering. This wasn't a killer, just a soul starved for a hand that didn't hit. Dusk settled at 5:10, streetlights buzzing on, and Storm sank beside him, 2 feet off, eyes heavy but fixed on Matt. Daring to believe this wasn't another lie. Dana, peering from Elm, radioed her team at 5:15, Carver's got him, stand down. Grayson's facts could wait, Storm had a shot, and Matt wasn't letting go. Part 3, The Weight Falls Away. 15,000 plus characters. October 14, 2025, bled into twilight over Rockland, Maine, the sky bruising purple as the drizzle off Penobscot Bay faded to a damp hush. Streetlights flickering on along Pine Street at 5:37 p.m. Matt Carver knelt in the muddy backyard of the Murphy house, his Stanley bolt cutters, $29.99 from Ace Hardware in 17, cold in his grip. their jaws gleaming under the last rays of a dying sun. Storm lay close, his grey bulk shivering from 9 hours of Matt's quiet vigil. London's prose hummed hymns from a Bangor childhood. A shared silence that stitched a thread of trust through the rain-soaked day. 7 years of chains had ravaged him, neck a raw, calloused scar where fur wouldn't grow, hips stiff with arthritis from endless winters. Coat patchy with bald spots crusted in dirt, but beneath the wreckage, a dog lingered, one who'd saved Ethan Parker from Pine Cove Pond in 19 and now teetered on the edge of freedom or a county needle. Officer Dana Reed stood at the fence, her maglights beamed steady, her radio silent after shooing off a knot of neighbors. Pete Dunn, Mrs. Callahan, a kid with a cell phone, at 5:20. The bank's clock ticked, Grayson's 5 p.m. deadline loomed, 23 minutes away, and Matt knew this cut would unshackle more than steel, it'd rewrite a life. "Gonna show you something, fella," Matt said, lifting the cutters slow, letting Storm hear the metallic clank as he opened and closed them in the air. Storm's ears pinned back, his 52-pound frame tensing. A faint growl rumbling low, but Matt's voice held, soft, unshaken, a gravelly calm honed over 350 rescues. "This takes that weight off, no pain, no tricks." He snipped empty space twice. Watching Storm's amber eyes shift, fear flashing, then a flicker of curiosity, a mind still sharp despite 7 years of hell. The chain, 15 feet of rusted, quarter-inch galvanized steel. Bought at Rockland's True Value in 12, sank into frozen earth near the oak, a trench worn 2 inches deep from Storm's endless pacing, a circle mapped in despair. Matt slid closer. Each move a signal, knees shifting at 5:40, cutters poised by 5:42, his breath fogging in the chill. "Almost there," he murmured, steel biting the first link 6 feet from the anchor. The grind jolted Storm, he flinched, hind legs twitching, but Matt paused, soothing, "Easy, big guy, we've got all the time you need." Dana's light caught the chain scars, grooves deep as memory. Rust flaking like old blood, and Matt's anger flared, a mechanic's fist clenching inside, buried for Storm's sake. Link by link, he worked, snap at 5:45, thud at 5:47, pause at 5:49, each break a gasp of air. Storm's gaze locked on the falling steel, disbelief dawning in those amber depths. Dana crept closer at 5:50, her boots squelching, angling the beam to spotlight the anchor, a 10-pound spike bent from Storm's pulls. Its base cracked from 19th thaw. 7 years on that bastard, she muttered, voice catching as Matt snipped another link, 5:52, thud, 8 feet free, piling in the mud. The neck came last, 5:55, skin thickened to leather. Fur erased by friction, a ring of calluses that made Lisa Hayes wince in her mind's eye. Matt's hands shook, breath held, rain from his brow dripping onto the cutters. "One more. Tough guy, stay with me." He positioned the jaws, 5:56, steel cold against Storm scars, and with a final snap at 5:57, the chain collapsed, a hollow clang on frost that echoed off the house's peeling siding. Storm stood still, frozen for 3 heartbeats, 5:58, then stepped, no tug, no choke, wobbling, free. He staggered forward at 5:59, past the trench, grass crunching under paws for the first time since June 15, 2012, his legs trembling like a newborn foal's. Matt stayed put, hand out, tears falling unchecked as Storm circled back at 6:01, nosing his palm, testing, trusting, alive. Dana choked. "Jesus, Matt, look at him. He's feeling freedom." Haven Rescue welcomed Storm at 6:45 p.m., Matt's Silverado rolling slow down Route 1, Dana tailing in her F-150. His new life took root in Room 3, a 10 by 12 corner kennel with radiant floor heat. A thick LL Bean fleece blanket, Chopin's Nocturne Op. 9 No. 2 looping soft from a Bose speaker tucked in the ceiling. Dr. Lisa Hayes met them at 7:10, her stethoscope swinging as she knelt. Cataloging his wounds under Haven's warm LEDs, arthritis in his hips, X-rays later showing microfractures from cold nights, muscle atrophy in his hindquarters, 30% below normal for his 75-pound breed weight. Teeth worn to nubs from gnawing chain links, 2 cracked molars needing pulls. "He's a fighter," she said, her gloved hands gentle on his neck, wincing at the scar tissue's depth, half an inch thick in spots. Matt crashed on a cot beside him that night, waking at 3 a.m. to Storm's soft whine, hand resting on his flank till dawn. Sam Riley started at 8 a.m. October 15th, gentle stretches on a rubber mat. Hydrotherapy in Haven's foot pool by 10, warm water coaxing Storm's tail to flick, a ghost of a wag by noon. Meals came steady, Hill's science diet, chicken and rice, 3 cups twice daily, and his coat sprouted silver threads through gray by October 20th. Lisa noting, "He's filling out, 55 pounds already." On October 22nd, a 4-month-old mutt, Clover, tan, floppy-eared, rescued from a horde in Waldoboro, bolted her pen at 11:15 a.m. Yipping into room 3. Storm froze, then nosed her back, no snap, just a protector waking up, his amber eyes soft as she tumbled over his paws. By October 25th to 11th days free, he hit 58 pounds. Trotting Haven's fenced yard, sniffing pine needles at 2 p.m., tail lifting higher. Rockland buzzed, Pete Dunn at the Tradewinds Diner at 7 a.m. October 26th, heard Carver got that beast off Pine, miracle. Mrs. Callahan at the post office at 9, poor thing, all skin and bones, but skepticism lingered, Chief Tompkins at the station muttering, "Still a risk," growled at my deputy in 22. Matt saw a hero rising, step by shaky step, Haven's logs tracking every gain, October 27th, first full pool lap, October 29th, sat for Sam on command. The Murphys struck back November 3rd. A certified letter from Portland's Grayson Associates hitting Haven at 10:15 a.m., claiming Storm, alleging theft post-eviction, citing documented attacks from 14 to 18, barked at mailman Joe Ricci. June 15, lunged at Pete Dunn's lab, August 17. Grayson waived old complaints, demanding a county kill order by November 15, arguing public safety. Matt seethed, slamming the letter on Lisa's desk at 10:30, bastards abandoned him. Dana dug into files at 11. Pulling 17 ignored welfare calls from 13 to 25, and Storm paced room 3 at noon, sensing trouble, his whines sharp by 1 p.m. Ethan Parker, 15, caught it on WCSH 6 at 6 p.m., that's him. February 19, he pulled me from Pine Cove. His story, ice cracking. Storm's jaws, lit a fuse through Rockland by 7, Jen sobbing on their couch, I never knew, but the county loomed, a new chain tightening around a dog who just tasted light. Grayson's fax at 8 p.m. cold, danger assessment scheduled November 10, 9 a.m. Part 4, The Haven's Heart. 15,000 plus characters. April 15, 2026, dawned clear over Rockland. Maine, a spring sun climbing at 5:53 a.m., warming Penobscot Bay's chop and glinting off Haven Rescue's tin roof, where Storm stood proud, gray coat lustrous with new silver. Scars softening to faint lines, amber eyes gentle but keen, weight steady at 72 pounds. 7 years chained, he'd saved Ethan Parker from Pine Cove Pond on February 17, 2019, dodged Grayson's needle on November 15, 2025, and found Matt Carver. Now, he was Rockland's beating heart. Ruth Collins, 72, watched him sniff her garden at 8 a.m., a retired 4th grade teacher from Rockland Elementary. Widowed when Jim's stroke hit in 19, son Ryan lost to a rig collapse off Gloucester in 21, her grief eased by Storm's steady gaze as he nosed her daffodils, planted by Jim in 17. The Murphys' lawsuit crashed by November 30, 2025, Ethan's testimony at Knox County Courthouse on November 10, Lisa's X-rays of Storm's neck fractures, neighbor footage from Pete Dunne's ring cam of Tom's fists in 18, unveiling their scams, fake vet bills in Camden. Abandoned dogs in Brunswick, jail looming with a March 3, 2026, indictment for fraud and cruelty. Storm was safe, and Rockland was reborn. The fight peaked November 10, 2025. In a courthouse packed at 9 a.m., 150 locals spilling into the hall, fishermen in Carhartt, nurses from Penn Bay, kids clutching "Save Storm" signs crayoned at school. Matt took the stand at 9:45. Voice steady, detailing Storm's rise, clips on Haven's iPad of him with Clover at 10 a.m. October 25, pool strides by November 1, Ruth's lap at Haven on November 7, her first visit logged at 2 p.m. Dr. Lisa's scars, X-rays time-stamped October 16, 8:30 a.m., proved abuse, not danger, her testimony at 10:15 sharp, these fractures? Chain strain, not fights, years of it. Ethan, 15, spoke at 10:45, voice breaking, reliving that night, ice cracked at 5:50 p.m., I was gone, then he pulled me, bled doing it. Ruth, frail but fierce in a gray sweater knit by Jim, took the stand at 11:15, tears falling, he saved me too, from despair after Ryan. I read to him November 7th, he listened, head on my knee. Judge Karen Ellis ruled at 1:37 p.m. Storm stayed, Grayson's order quashed, Storm's law, signed by Governor Mills January 15, 2026, mandating trauma checks for dangerous dogs statewide, Rockland's ordinance updated by February 1. Ruth's yard, 112 Birch Street, became Cove Haven by March 1, a halfway home for rescues, Storm its soul, guiding trembling pups like 6-month-old Max, a beagle mix from Augusta. His tail a quiet metronome by March 15 as he nudged Max from a crate at 3 p.m. Matt's wreck hit April 2, 2026, his Silverado totaled at 6:12 p.m. on Route 17 by a drunk in a Dodge Ram. Femur snapped clean, 3 ribs cracked, airbag burns on his forearms. Bedridden at Penn Bay by 7:30, he fretted as Haven called at 8, Storm pacing room 3 by 9 p.m., refusing kibble unless Ruth fed him by hand. Logged at 62 pounds April 5, down 3 since March 30. A FaceTime call April 6 at 10 a.m. sparked life, Storm pawed Haven's tablet at 10:03, Matt choking through a morphine haze. Hold on, buddy, I'm back soon, his leg in a cast, till June 1 per Dr. Patel's 8 a.m. rounds April 7. Ruth's heart faltered April 10 at 9:15 a.m., mid-lesson at Cove Haven, Pride and Prejudice dropping as she clutched her chest. Collapsing on her porch. Storm shielded her, logged by Sam at 9:17, whining but stepping back for medics at 9:25 after Dana's coaxing, let em help, boy. At Penn Bay by 10 a.m., Ruth's room, 312, flanked Matt's 314, a widowmaker heart attack per Dr. Lee's 1030 chart, her vitals spiking, pulse from 48 to 62, when Storm visited at 11, head on her chest. His trust her medicine, logged daily, till her discharge May 15. Ethan, 15, volunteering at Penn Bay's youth program, saw him April 12 at 2 p.m., my hero. His tale on WMTW at 6 p.m., April 13 rewriting Storm as a chained savior, Jen sobbing on Birch Street at 6:05, we owe him everything. July 4, 2026, Storm's Day, lit Cove Haven at 1 p.m., Ruth's garden bursting with Jim's lilacs and daffodils. 400 souls cheering on Birch Street's lawn, a banner strung at 10 a.m., Storm's legacy, hope grows here. Ethan, 16, spoke at 2:15, mic crackling, he's why I'm alive, proof good hides in the broken. February 17, 19, 5:50 p.m., I'd be gone without him. Matt, limping on a cane since June 15, grinned at 2:30 as Storm fetched a tennis ball for kids, Tommy Dunn, 8, once scared stiff, logged at 73 pounds June 30th. Tail high. Ruth, stronger post-stents May 20th, took the mic at 2:45, voice firm, he taught us trust men's, me, Ethan, this town. I read to him November 7, 25, he gave me purpose. Mayor Tom Ward handed them the city key at 3 p.m., Storm a therapy vest, embroidered, Haven Hero, by Ruth May 25, his rounds at Penn Bay starting June 1, soothing chemo kids like 10-year-old Mia Lopez in room 208 at 10 a.m. June 3, vets like Ed Callahan in 305 at June 11 5, the lost finding anchor in his gaze. Cove Haven logged its first adoption July 10, Max to the Wilsons on Elm at 1 p.m. Storm's calm nudging him to their car at 1:15, Ruth's notes at 1:30, he's the bridge, shows M. Holmes real. Rockland shifted, Chief Tompkins rewrote protocols by March 1. No more snap judgments, Storm proved it, Tradewinds ran a Storm Special burger by April 1, proceeds to Haven, kids at Rockland Elementary drew Storm Saves posters by May 1. Taped up at Hannaford May 5. From a chained shadow, logged at Pine Street June 15, 12, to Rockland's heart by July 4, 26, Storm's legacy soared, Ruth's Haven thriving with 12 rescues by August 1. A town's soul softened, a law's shift signed January 15, showing the battered can rise, fierce and free, when chains break and belief holds. Matt logged at Haven July 5, 8 a.m. He's more than a dog, he's us, fighting back, Storm asleep by his cot at 8:15, a gray sentinel of hope. March 21, 2025, roared into Rockland, Maine, with a late-season squall tearing off Penobscot Bay. The kind of raw, gray chaos that chewed at the town's edges and left salt-streaked windows rattling on Birch Street. It was 6 years and 33 days since Storm had dragged Ethan Parker from the jaws of Pine Cove Pond. And the gray dog, still tethered to that splintered oak on Pine Street, shivered under a tarp Tom Murphy had nailed up in 22, now flapping like a tattered flag in the 50-mile-per-hour gusts. His chain clinked, a dull hymn of captivity, his 54-pound frame hunched against the wind, ribs stark beneath a coat dulled by neglect. The Murphy house loomed dark behind him, foreclosed in 24 after Tom's latest bender landed him in county lockup for smashing a bottle over a bartender's skull at the Rusty Anchor on December 31. Karen had bolted to her sister's in Bangor by January 3, leaving Storm to the mercy of a bank that didn't care and neighbors too weary to fight anymore. At 2:17 p.m., the National Weather Service's gray office clocked the wind chill at -5 degrees Fahrenheit. A cruel lash that turned Storm's breath to fleeting ghosts in the air, his amber eyes glinting through the storm's haze, haunted, but unbowed. 2 miles west, Ethan Parker, now 15. Wiry and sharp-eyed from years of hauling traps with his dad on the F/VC which, huddled in the cab of Tim's 09 F-150, parked outside Rockland High. School had let out at 1:30. Cancelled mid-blizzard, and Ethan's phone buzzed at 2:20 with a text from Jen, swamped, home late. Stay safe. Tim, cursing the storm over the CB radio, was still 20 miles offshore, battling swells to save a string of traps. Ethan's Red Sox cap, reclaimed from that frozen night in 19, sat snug on his head, a talisman of survival. But something gnawed at him. A tug sharper than the wind, a memory of gray fur and a chain's clank, a debt unpaid. At 2:25, he cranked the truck's heat, the engine sputtering, and made a call he'd been dodging for years. Matt? It's Ethan Parker. That dog, Storm, he's still out there. I saw him last week, chained up worse than ever. We gotta do something. Matt Carver's voice crackled back from Haven Rescue. Steady despite the static, kid, I've been tracking him since 23, Banks got him on borrowed time. Storm's tough, but this weather? I'm on it. Meet me at Pine in 30. By 3 p.m. Matt's Silverado rolled up, wipers slashing through the blizzard, Ethan's shotgun with a mag light and a blanket swiped from Tim's boat shed. Pine Street was a war zone, power lines sagged under ice. A spruce had crashed across Elm at 2:45, and the Murphy lot looked like a ghost ship run aground, its shingles peeling like flayed skin. Storm crouched beneath the oak, a gray specter in the whiteout. His growls swallowed by the storm as Matt and Ethan slogged through knee-deep drifts. "He's a fighter," Matt said, voice low, kneeling 20 feet out with a thermos of coffee and a Ziploc of kibble, Hill's Science Diet. "The good stuff from Haven." Ethan's flashlight caught Storm's eyes, wild, wary, but locked on them, a flicker of recognition sparking through 6 years of frost. "Hey, buddy, it's me." Ethan called, voice cracking, the wind snatching his words. "You saved me once. We're here now." Storm's ears twitched, a low whine cutting through the gale, but the chain held him fast. Its anchor iced into the earth like a tombstone. The rescue turned brutal fast. At 3:15, Matt edged closer, 10 feet, then 8, bolt cutters in hand, but Storm lunged, a guttural snarl born of terror. Not rage, his chain snapping taut and spraying snow. Ethan flinched, heart hammering, but Matt held firm. "He's scared, not mean, give him time." By 3:30, the storm peaked, gusts hit 58 miles per hour. A transformer blew 2 blocks east, plunging Pine Street into flickering dark. Ethan's flashlight danced over the chain's trench, a frozen scar circling the oak, and Matt's jaw tightened. 7 years on this bastard, should have been cut in 19. He inched to 5 feet at 3:45, coffee steam curling in the air, kibble scattered as bait, reading to build a fire aloud over the wind's howl, a ritual of trust. Storm's growls softened by 4 o'clock, his head tilting at Ethan's silhouette, a boy he'd pulled from death now grown into a shadow of hope. At 4:10, Matt snipped the first link, snap, a metallic cry that jolted Storm but didn't break him. Link by link, the chain fell, 4:15, 4:20, until the anchor loomed, a rusted spike Matt pried free at 4:25 with a grunt, blood streaking his knuckles from the ice. Storm staggered at 4:27. Free but faltering, his legs buckling as Ethan rushed forward, blanket outstretched. "You're okay, you're with us," he choked, tears freezing on his cheeks as Storm's nose brushed his hand. A fragile bridge rebuilt across 6 years. Haven Rescue swallowed them by 5 p.m., room 3 glowing warm against the storm's fading snarl. Dr. Lisa Hayes catalogued Storm's ruin, 55 pounds. Down 20 from his prime, hips creaking with arthritis, neck a roadmap of scars, while Sam Riley coaxed him onto a fleece pad, his first soft bed since 12. Ethan crashed on a cot beside him. Whispering, "You're home now," as Matt briefed Dana Reed at 5:30, "Banks off our backs, Ethan's story seals it." By March 23, Storm hit 58 pounds, his coat sprouting silver. Tail flicking at Clover's yips, a 4-month-old mutt who'd tumbled into his orbit. Rockland buzzed, Ethan's tail hit WCSH-6 at 6 p.m. March 25, teen reunites with hero dog, Jen sobbing on Birch Street at 6:05. "He's ours too, always was." But the Murphys weren't done. Tom, paroled October 1, 2025, after 9 months in Cumberland County, saw the broadcast from a dive bar in Portland. By October 3, he'd hired Grace & Associates, a slick firm with a fax at 9 a.m. October 4 to Haven, "Storm's ours, stolen property. County kill order by October 15, or we sue for $50. 000 Grayson waived doctored vet bills in a 14 complaint, Storm barking at a UPS guy, claiming vicious tendencies. The fight erupted October 10, 2025, at Knox County Courthouse. 200 locals jamming the steps by 8 a.m., lobstermen, AR nurses, kids with "Free Storm" signs scrawled in Sharpie. Matt testified at 9:30, voice steel, 7 years chained, he's no threat. He's a damn miracle. Lisa's x-rays at 10 o'clock, neck fractures, chain grooves, silenced Grayson's bluster, while Ethan took the stand at 10:30, eyes blazing, February 17, 5:50 p.m., ice broke, I was dead. He bled pulling me out. You don't kill a hero. Ruth Collins, 72, shuffled up at 11 o'clock, her gray sweater damp with tears. He's my comfort, reads with me at Haven. Tom left him to rot. Judge Ellis ruled at 1:45 p.m., Storm stayed, Grayson's order shredded, Tom's parole yanked by 2 p.m. after Dana's 17 welfare logs hit the DA's desk. Rockland exhaled, Tradewinds ran a Storm burger by October 12. Proceeds to Haven, kids at Rockland Elementary taping, Storm saves, art to lockers by October 15. October 31, 2026, crowned storms rise. Cove Haven, Ruth's Birch Street yard, blazed at 3 p.m. with Storm's Legacy Day, 500 souls cheering under a crisp Halloween sky, pumpkins carved with his silhouette lining the fence. Ethan, 17, spoke at 3:15, Mike steady, he's why I breathe, proof the broken can save. Matt, cane-free since August 1st, tossed a ball at 3:30 as Storm bounded, 75 pounds, scars faded, tail a metronome of joy. Ruth, post-stents, read Pride and Prejudice at 3:45. Storm's head on her knee, her voice firm, he mends us, me, Ethan, this town. Mayor Ward pinned a Haven hero vest on him at 4 o'clock, therapy rounds at Penn Bay logged since July, calming chemo kids like Mia Lopez. Vets like Ed Callahan, a gray anchor for the lost. Tom rotted in county by then, indicted March 3rd for fraud, Karen a ghost in Bangor. Storm's Law, signed January 15, 2026, spread statewide. Haven thriving with 15 rescues by October 31st, Rockland softer, fiercer, reborn. Matt logged at 5 p.m., he's our fight, our light, Storm asleep by his side at 5:15, a changed shadow turned sentinel. Free at last. Lesson learned. From the frozen chaos of that February night in Rockland, Maine, Storm's story teaches us that courage and loyalty can thrive even in the darkest corners. A neglected dog, chained for years, risked everything to save a boy he didn't owe, proof that strength isn't just muscle, but the will to act when hope seems lost. It's a reminder that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they wear scars. What's your take? Have you seen a quiet hero, like Storm, rise against the odds? Share your stories in the comments below, or tag a friend who'd fight through a storm for you. Let's keep this fire alive. Hit that like button, spread the word, and tell us, who's the unsung savior in your life?